This week on London Real, we have NBA basketball player with the Houston Rockets and New Jersey Nets, Boki Nachbar.
If I didn't get a contract I wanted, I'm going to fight even more to get that. If I didn't win, I'm going to fight even more to win. When I was injured, I'm going to fight. I'm going to work my ass to get in the best possible shape I could be to get back on track. We won the Spanish league, and it was a huge victory for our club. And I cried after the game. To play a sport in Barcelona, I think is every athlete's dream. English is the universal language of trash talking. So okay, I think I was too nice. Be more cocky, be more self-confident, be more of a douche. So when I'm done playing basketball, I want to be healthy enough and have enough energy to do something else. I always wanted to be involved in charity and help the people who are not as fortunate as I am. I think that's very important. The 9-10-year-old kids, that their job is basically get up in the morning, go to get water and bring it back for the family. It's something that it's tough to experience, but it's necessary to do it and to tell the world, and hopefully things will change.
London Real presents Boki Nachbar, The Details.
Believe in yourself first, otherwise nobody else will.
Welcome back to London Real. I'm coming at you from Arnold Circus, right here in Shoreditch. It's a beautiful roundabout here in Hackney, London, and it's worth checking out. If you don't know what a roundabout is, well, you can Google it for all you Yanks out there. This week on the show, we have a gentleman by the name of Boki Nachbar, and he is from Slovenia, which is a country in Europe, just kind of north of Italy, between Italy and Austria. And he is a former NBA basketball player who basically played with the best of the best. He was at the Houston Rockets, the New Jersey Nets, and then moved to Moscow and signed like a 10 million euro contract to play for them, and is now playing for Barcelona, FC Barcelona, which is the group that includes the football or soccer, if you're in the States, club over there. And Barcelona is one of my favorite cities. It has one of the most passionate fan bases out there. And Boki loves playing for Barcelona. And he's been a fan of London Real for so long. He tweeted us back in the day, like after we were on the Rogan show, and I remember getting this tweet from this, pro basketball player, wanting to come up to London and be on the show, and I was just like floored. But he really loved our vibe and everything we were talking about, and so we've been staying in touch, and we finally made this interview happen. And he's a super cool dude, big MMA fan, big fan of podcasting in general. He's got his own podcast called The Details, which is now in English, otherwise it was in Slovenian. And Boki is an interesting guy. He's also big in to giving back. He just came back from Africa with UNICEF, where he looked at some villages with some major water shortages and also tried to teach him a bit of basketball. So he's a fascinating guy and has a lot of interesting thoughts about what it's like to play competitive basketball, what it's like to trash talk with some of the best guys out there, and all around just a solid guy to hang out with. So I hope you like some of his insights, and he taught me a little bit about the game that I don't know that much about, basketball, and I took him back to a few days when I used to have the privilege of sitting on the floor at games in Madison Square Garden with the Knicks, and I happened to get to see Michael Jordan come back from playing baseball back to basketball, and I was in Chicago for that game where he came back, and those were some great memories. So Boki's the man, and it was just good to having him on the show and having his vibe. So I hope you enjoy that. I hope you have also been keeping up on the progress of the bar muscle up. Yes, I am 43 years old, and I'm still going to master this move, which is a very tricky thing to get. And once you actually get it, if I do get it, it looks simple. So there's almost no upside to this entire pursuit, but it's brought to you and inspired by the guys at Bar Stars in the States, the guys at Block Workout here in London, who I'm going to try to have on the show, and my newest inspiration for the muscle up, which is Cali Muscle, coming out of Oakland, California. Cali's got a great story, and he's a huge dude, like 255 pounds, and he can bust out like 15 muscle ups. And his form is pretty sick, and I just tweeted out to him today. Hopefully we'll get Cali to London to be on the show. All of this stuff is brought to you by the guys at Monkey Nutrition. And these are the guys that have been feeding me my protein supplements with their Primal 26. I have it about 3 times a week. And You know, these guys are about longevity. If they have one goal in mind, that's what it is, which is very different from a lot of supplement companies that just want to get you big or sell you lots of products or, you know, really have the wrong goal in mind. And the more I think about it and talk about it, I think this is the way that your training should go. And it's something that even Mike Dolce said when he was here. You know, he trains fighters for a living, but longevity is really what he's thinking about. So something to keep in mind, and it's definitely the way forward when it comes to your training. So check those guys out at Monkey Nutrition. They've just given a 5% off all of their products across the board. You can use the code LondonMonkey and get 5% all of their stuff. I'm a big fan of their products. I recommend, like I said, the Primal 26 Vanilla is my thing. And big thanks to those guys for supporting the show. You probably noticed me sporting this beautiful t-shirt. Yes, we're wearing our colors, red or blue, 'cause of blood. It just don't matter, suck a dive for your life with my shotgun scatter. That's for Ice-T, but you should get your colors on. And you can do that by going to our website, which is londonreal.tv, clicking on the gear button in the upper right-hand corner, and get yourself a shirt. Show your people how you're thinking, and tweet me a picture. I'll retweet it out to all of our people. My man Kamal in Munich said he just bought a whole bunch of them for the whole family. So shout out to you. And while you're on that website, londonreal.tv, check out the beauty of it. And that's because it was brought to you by the guys at Squarespace. And Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to build your website or e-commerce store for only, I think it's $8 a month. You can basically have a drag and drop, gorgeous looking website with all sorts of things that they do. They can help you make your logo. Like I said, they can hook you up with a store. And you know, I've said it time and time again, but you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And these days, that means your website. So when you go to someone's website, it's got to be dope, man. You can't be having these old nasty sites because it reflects poorly on you. So get yourself together. I think you can go on there without even a credit card and start designing your site. And when you go to checkout, use the code London. You get 10% off and support these guys. They're actually a big supporter of podcasts. You know, they support my man Ice-T. They've supported Rogan, tons of podcasts over the days. So big thanks to Squarespace, and check those guys out. Looks like we're getting a little bit of sun here, and I'm gonna round out about here the Arnold Circus one more time, and just want to give a final shout out to the boys at Bulletproof. You know, I have their coffee every single day of my life. It's a fantastic way to start the day. Get those beans, grind them up. They are the beans that are free of molds and toxins. You combine that with your grass-fed butter and your brain octane oil, which is a key part of the process. And mix that up. You know, I love it. I serve it to all my guests. You name it. We've had a who's who drinking Bulletproof coffee on the show, and it has a 100%. Which is almost statistically improbable win rate. Everyone loves it. So check out their stuff. Dave also has his book dropping in December. It's called The Bulletproof Diet. It's going to be huge. Everyone's already talking about it, and you can pre-order it now by clicking on the logo right now, and you get like 6 extra videos they send you right away once you pre-order it, and lots of extra stuff. It also just promotes the whole Bulletproof movement and gets other people knowing about it. So let's please support those guys and make this book a big success. And like I said, big fans of those guys. Check out their coffee and all of their other biohacking implements, sleep hacking stuff. And that's it. So there you go. I'm literally walking around in circles here. That could be a metaphor for life, but we'll get into that later. If you want to email me, it's brian@londonreal.tv. Hook me up with your guest suggestions. Please like this video. That makes a big difference. Leave us a comment and share it with your friends, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. It's a total grassroots movement, this is. It's like guerrilla warfare, man. We're going out there person to person to person. So do that. Also, click on this iTunes link and download the audio. It'll be always with you on your smartphone or your computer. And if you ever don't have the time to watch our mugs, then you can just listen to it. I do it with all of my podcasts. So there you go. I've got not much else to say here, so I'm just going to wrap this thing up, and hope you enjoy our hour plus here with Mr. Boki Nachbar. All right, let's do this. This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. We are sponsored today by the folks at Bulletproof Coffee. I just served up a glass of the iced Bulletproof to my man here, Boki. I'm having a little bit myself, so thanks to Dave Asprey and those guys out there. On to the show. My guest is Mr. Boki Nachbar, who is a professional basketball player from Slovenia, who is currently number 34 for FC Barcelona in the Spanish League. You've been playing pro basketball since 1997 for teams like the Houston Rockets, New Orleans Hornets, New Jersey Nets. In 2008, you came back to Europe and signed like a big 3-year, 10 million euro contract with the Russian club Dynamo Moscow. You're heavily involved in charity work. I know you just came back from the African country of Chad. I want to talk about that later. You're a big fan of the Joe Rogan Experience, Daniel Bolelli. You and I have been talking for like 2 years. Finally got you on the show. Boki, welcome to London Real.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Dude, it's nice to finally have you. It's crazy. I think you reached out to us. Was it after we were on Joe Rogan or before? Or I'm not quite sure. But it was a while back.
Yeah, it's been a while. But, I'm glad I did, and I'm glad we got in contact. I mean, this is... It's finally, it's happening. I'm here.
It's nice to know that we have people listening to us in Slovenia.
You'd be surprised. There's people there listening. It's probably the last thing you think about. But yeah, I mean, your podcast has grown into a podcast that is listened to worldwide for sure.
Dude, that's always good to hear, man. You never think about it when you're here doing it, and you know that because you have your own podcast. And we'll get to that. But I want to talk a little bit about basketball. We've never had a professional basketball player on here. You're a lot taller than I am, and I just remember my first time when I realized what a big deal professional basketball was. Is I went to New York City in 1993 when I graduated from college, and I worked on Wall Street. And so the Wall Street brokers would take us out and try to spend money on us to get us to spend money with them. And what they would do is they would take us on the floor at the New York Knicks games. So they'd sit us down next to like Madonna. And I remember the first time seeing real basketball players, professional guys, like playing. And I just didn't realize, from the television, you can't tell how physical it is, how big you guys are, like what a serious cardio game it is, and then like the serious physical contact going on. And I was just blown away by the sport of it. And then later I was lucky enough to go to Chicago for banking, and I was in the Chicago Bulls arena when Jordan came back from playing baseball. And like the place went crazy, and Chicago used to go crazy anyways. And I remember seeing him play, and it's just like very impressive stuff. So I was wondering if you could tell me, how does a kid from Slovenia end up being a professional basketball player, and what's it really like being a pro ball player?
Well, I had to tell this story to many people, obviously, before, but maybe not to your audience. How I came to be in NBA. I come from a small town in Slovenia called Dravograd, which is 4,000 people and doesn't even have a basketball club.
There you go. Where is Slovenia for people that don't know?
Slovenia is in, north of the north coast of the north coast of the Adriatic Sea. It's by Italy, Austria, Croatia, that region.
Right.
It's a beautiful small country. 2 million people, so it's a small
2
place.
million, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you said, just kind of northeast
of Italy. Yeah, Venice,
that
Italy,
part.
right there. The border is right there.
Right.
Well, we don't even have borders anymore now. We can just drive because
The
the European Union and all that. So, but yeah, that's where I'm from. Yeah,
Okay.
and like I said, growing up in a small town and always having the dream to play in the NBA. It sounded funny when I was a kid. Nobody thought I was gonna get there. It really was one of those situations when a little kid is dreaming big, and I remember being in class in elementary school, and instead of listening to teachers, is drawing up the logos of NBA teams in my notebook. And even though I was a good student, I had time for that, and I always focused basketball. But yeah, the road to get there obviously was hard. I had to go through a lot of obstacles. I got to get over a lot of obstacles, and I fight for my spots and teams and all that. But luckily, I had enough talent. I had the physical ability to do it. I was at the right place at the right time. That all that takes to make it. Once I got to the NBA, 10, 15 years later, I was the happiest man in the world.
I bet. Now basketball is big in Europe. I mean, people don't know that. I mean, in London, as we were talking about earlier, it hasn't really peaked where it probably is going to get someday, especially with all the Europeans moving to London. But it's a big sport on the continent, right?
It's huge. I mean, obviously soccer is number one.
Yeah.
But as far as team sports go, basketball is second.
Okay.
I mean, it's played in all the countries, at the highest level. I play in Barcelona now. We play in Spanish League and in EuroLeague. EuroLeague is equivalent to NBA in the States.
Okay.
The best teams the best players, the best competition. So yeah, it's basketball has been over years. It's been getting better and better and better here in Europe. I'm not gonna say that it's gonna catch up with the NBA, because NBA still takes a lot of best European players over there, and it has the best league, best players, the best teams, and so on and so on. But basketball in Europe is definitely getting really, really good, with a lot of good teams. Spending money to get players involved. Getting in. Really trying to win the competition because of how big basketball, especially in some of the cities like Barcelona, Madrid, Moscow, Istanbul. In Italy you have Milan. All those major cities all over Europe, except London. Hoping one day London's going to have a team too, because it's a beautiful, beautiful city.
Right, your first time here and you're loving it, right?
Yeah.
So, and is it typically like the non-football fans that come and watch basketball? I mean, are they separate, or is there a crossover?
I would think majority is separate. I would think so.
Okay.
Even though, for example, the team that I play for now, Barcelona, we're called FC Barcelona.
Which is the same as
we're basically under the same roof as the soccer team, the football team, just that we're a basketball section.
Okay.
So it's the same club, Yeah,
okay.
And Real Madrid has the same, and some European teams have the same way of doing it. So imagine you have Los Angeles Lakers having a basketball team, but then also a soccer team called Los Angeles Lakers. That's how they do it in Europe. So yeah, I think still majority of the fans are either basketball or football fans, or soccer as we call it here.
Right.
But there's some people who like both, especially the people who support the club. So let's say when it comes to Barcelona fans, they support football, but when we play against Real Madrid, which is a big rivalry, they still go to basketball games just because they support the club so much.
Right.
That's how it is.
It seems to me like there couldn't be almost two different games. I mean, you got football where the score is 1-0.
Yeah.
And you got basketball basketball's such, in my opinion, an American sport, because, Americans like the score to change, where they like action all the time. And, it seems like it's a sport that people want, right? I mean, people want that kind of fast, active.
It's definitely a lot different than soccer.
Right.
In soccer you sit, or a lot of some other sports, but yeah, in soccer you sit down and you watch, and if there's one goal, it's great. If it's two, it's a wow. In basketball, it's such a fast-paced game, and score changes a lot, and a lot of little things happen inside the game. Plus, I think it helps because fans sit closer to the floor. You can, like you said,
different energy.
It's different, and a lot of people tell me, like you said before, a lot of people say when they come see a basketball game and they sit front court, and they see it live, they say I have no idea how fast this game is, how physical it is. That's something that people are surprised about when they see it live up close.
Why is that? Why can't we tell from television? Because there's huge guys. I mean, like they're dominating each other and hitting each other.
But you have a lot of huge guys, and you have even the guards who are supposed to be short on the court. They're still tall guys. I mean, those guys are like 185, 190, 195 in centimeters.
Yeah.
Which is 6'3", 6'4", 6'5".
Right.
If those guys walked around the street, you'll say, "Oh, it's a tall dude."
Right.
But on the court, they don't look tall, because you have guys that are even taller, 6'7", 6'9". I'm 6'9". Then you have 7'1", 7'3". I mean, I play with guys that've been 7'5", 7'6". So, I fell short.
Right.
So, especially to people here who listen to this and are here in London, or in England, I would suggest that they go see a basketball game. I'm sure they would love it.
Right, and sit up close.
Yeah. If possible.
Right. Okay. Now talk about the States. What was it like, playing when you finally got to the NBA? And I know you played there for a bunch of different teams. Was the vibe completely different being in the States? What was it like even being in America for the first time?
For me, it was a culture shock at first. I moved from Italy, where I played my first 2 years outside Slovenia as a professional. I was a 21-year-old kid, and I moved to Houston, Texas. And it was such a specific Texan city. It was a culture shock. I liked it. People were very nice, and they supported the Rockets, the team in Houston, and the support I received was unbelievable. But still, to get used to the city, not as much the language, but the culture, the food over there, and all that stuff. It took me a while to get used to it.
Right, and it's hot down
there.
Yeah, it
is.
It's a spread out city. I've actually never been to Houston, but in Texas, you might as well be in completely different countries when you go from Dallas.
And that's very true. I didn't know what they were talking about at first when they told me, everything's big in Texas, and we're our own country inside the USA. But once I lived there for a while and I visited other cities, I could see the difference, you know. But like I said, real nice people, open people, and kind, and I have nice memories.
Was the style of basketball different? Was it more in your face? Was it more aggressive? Or was it just, did it feel different when you got there?
Well, yeah, for me, especially for me, it was because I was always a very skinny as a player, and especially as a kid. And to get there and all the physical game that was there, the fast pace, I needed quite some time to get used to it and to get my strength where it needed to be. The game is faster. The game is quicker. It's more talented players, and it's definitely called the best. I mean, for a reason, it's called the best league in the world.
Right. How long were you there for? In the
6
States?
years.
6 years.
Yeah.
And you went to the Nets. You went down to New Orleans as well.
Yeah.
Any favorite memories? Do you miss it at all, or was that kind of a part of your career? And then it was.
Well, I mean, every year was different. I had a chance to play with some great players, and I'm not gonna name all of them, but to play last couple of years when I played with New Jersey Nets, we played well also in the playoffs, and played with Vince Carter and Jason Kidd and Richard Jefferson, and those were the guys that were all stars at the time. Or it was definitely nice to be there and playing a big role for the team.
Right.
And also living close to New York and all that, it had its charm. And I have nice memories. Spent 6 years there, and definitely will never regret to move in there, playing there, and basically, I lived my dream.
What's the biggest misconception about professional basketball that like people wouldn't even know by looking at the NBA?
Wow, that's a tough question. The biggest misconception, I don't know. I mean, I think for majority of people that I met, the players that I met, I always thought that they were untouchable and they were really like a superstars that you see them as they are. Most of those guys are really nice guys and open guys. It's just that, obviously NBA is keeping a barrier between the players and fans for a reason. You want to look up to those guys. If there would be, you would be able to reach them and be available, and they would be available on every step. It wouldn't have that appeal of a superstar. But once you meet those guys and you see that they're all really cool guys. That's one thing that I noticed. A story when I first came to the NBA, and Grant Hill, a player that played for Orlando Magic at the time, was one of my idols. And I first met him, and I got on court. It was against that team, and he walked up to me and he said, "Welcome to the league, rookie." And I was like, I can't believe this dude just said this to me. I thought it was the nicest thing ever.
Oh, right, right.
So things like that, things like that definitely they change you, and it's something that I haven't thought about before I got there.
Does the NBA keep a kind of a distance from the players and the media? Do you think they do? Because we talk about like MMA, which is like the opposite, because you get inside all these guys' head and the media access is sick. Even Dana White has media access.
Yeah.
But does the NBA kind of have that distance to protect their
Well,
brand?
it's very structured. It's very structured. So
Okay.
let's say pre-game, in the locker room, media has access to the players. They're allowed to enter the locker room and talk. And after the game is the same. It's short. It's maybe 15, 20 minutes. And I think every practice there's a media availability either before or after practice. But it's usually short. It's structured. It's you always have a PR guy somewhere in the corner. Saying okay, 2 more minutes. Like this. It's getting similar in Europe from my experience. But it's done like this for a reason, because in MMA, for example, the fighter has a fight, so when he's in town for those 4 or 5 days or a week, media's there and they have a chance to see him and talk to him and get all the info they have. After the fight, he's gone for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
In the NBA or in Europe, you have 2-3 games a week, so you're always available. So they keep it short. If they can't reach you today, you'll be back in practice tomorrow or 3 days from now, and they can talk to you then.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't think of the last time I heard a compelling NFL or NBA interview. I don't know. Am I just like, maybe I'm spoiled with MMA?
Yeah.
Or maybe also because it's a team sport and there's less specifics to talk about. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I definitely find MMA guys more interesting as far as what they have to say in their preparation for the fights and after the fights and all that. But maybe it's just because I live basketball every day and I'm looking for something different.
Right.
But yeah, basketball games and practices, it's also a routine. You've done it day in, day out. And a lot of times there's not just that much interesting to say, at least not from our standpoint. I'm sure media and fans want to hear something new, something different. But from our standpoint, it's, we had a practice, we had a game, we lost, we won. It's simple.
Right.
And I think a lot of guys also, they don't like the media attention and they don't like all that. It happens. I never had a problem with it. I always say that we play for the fans. I always played for the fans, so the fans have the right to know what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling before the game, after the game, so I'm available. But You know, a lot of players don't think that. They think that they deserve their own, you know, peace, their own quiet time, and they don't like media. But it's up to every individual how they want to approach it.
Right. How many games do you play a week? How many practices do you do a week when the season is on? I just want to get an idea of the physicality or how much you're playing.
Well, you know, NBA and Europe are a little bit different. In NBA, there's usually in regular season there's 82 games plus the playoffs, so it comes up to like 100 maybe. Yeah, it's a lot of games, and that's only like a 6.5 month period, so it's a lot of games. So you 3 to 4 times a week, you know. It's a lot.
And that's 40 minutes. Oh, you could
48 in the NBA.
Okay.
In Europe, the game is long, 40 minutes. And usually it's about, I would say about 70, 80 games, 70, 75 games.
Okay.
Because in Europe it's a little bit different. In NBA, you only play the NBA. So you play one league. In Europe, you play your local league where you're from. So for example, I'm playing for Barcelona. So we play Spanish league. Plus we play EuroLeague. So we'll play one game a week is going to be Spanish league, and one game a week is going to be EuroLeague. Just like the soccer teams or the football teams. You know, they have the English, the Premier League, and then they play the Champions League, for example. Yeah, okay. So it's the same thing.
And then practices on top of that?
Yeah. Okay. Once, twice a day. You know, I would say, 4 or 5 times a week. Depends, you know.
Okay, so it's pretty physically demanding.
Yeah, it is.
I hear naps are big in the NBA. Is that something that you do a lot of, naps? And I heard these guys, you know, when they're traveling all the time, it's like standard. These guys are napping during the day.
I used to do that a lot more. Yeah, not as much the last couple of years. But yeah, I was big on that. If I didn't have a nap in the afternoon, I wasn't able to function in the evening. It came to that point. I needed my 1.5 to 2 hours sleep in the afternoon. So my day used to be, you know, wake up in the morning, eat breakfast, go to practice, lunch, nap, wake up again, practice, and eat and sleep. So it was basically just like this, like very structured. And it was okay for me because it was my routine and what I've done. But for people around me, for family, it was tough because basically I was busy from the morning till the evening. But the last couple of years, I'm not napping as much anymore. I have more energy, I think, and we can talk about it later. But I also have 2 daughters, so I need to spend time with them. I mean, it's something I want to do. And so instead of resting more, I dedicate my time to them. And
what about off season? Do you train on the off season? How long are you off for, and what are you doing normally?
Usually I take a couple of weeks off after I'm done. 2-3 weeks off. A lot of times it's still it's still active. You know, I mean, you know, I'll either play some football with friends, or I'll go jogging, or I'll do a little bit of CrossFit. You know, I did bicycle rides a day for a couple of hours in the morning around London. So I'll stay active. I never want to be completely out of shape. I think the older you get, the harder it is to get back in shape.
Right. Do you have to worry about like injuries or things like that? If you go running, do you have to worry about your knees, or you know, if you train some jiu-jitsu, do you have to worry about this?
Yeah, I'm constantly thinking about it.
You are?
Yeah, constantly. I think I do it too much. It's my life. But I think I come to a point where you know, friends or my family or somebody says, "Oh, let's do this. Let's play football." I'm like, I don't know if I should do that. I mean, I get dragged into it somehow, and I stay back. I play very safe. But still, with everything I do, I have this in mind. I'm like, I gotta stay healthy. I can't get injured, especially not away from basketball. Because I think in basketball, when I'm in practice or in game, I obviously don't think about it, and I know I'm 100% focused on what I'm doing.
Right.
So I think that's what I need. If I'm focused, I'm good. You know, I mean, injuries can always happen.
Right.
But I'm focused in, so I don't worry about it. But when I do other things outside basketball, that's when I worry about it, because it's not my daily routine. It's not what my body's used to. So I'm worried about making a wrong step and getting injured. So it's constantly on my mind.
You hear about those stupid ass injuries where someone plays like beach volleyball and they blow their knee out, and you're like, what? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they weren't thinking about it.
Or you know, even stuff like riding a bicycle or being on a motorcycle, or you know, going skiing, or you know, stupid things. They happen, and you know, it's just something that I have always avoided as a professional athlete. You know.
And have you ever had downtime or injury time as an athlete?
I did. I had a couple of injuries. Last was a couple of years ago. I really badly injured my ankle.
Okay.
Tore a lot of ligaments, and even a part of my cartilage was separated. So I needed surgery, and it took me about 6 months to get back. So that was not fun.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
Because your work is gone.
Yeah.
You're probably climbing the walls.
Yeah, it's tough.
Worrying about your future.
It's tough. And I just finished my contract, so I was a free agent. I just got injured at the end of the season. My contract
was
up.
Or what?
Yeah, in the practice.
Okay.
Practice.
Okay.
So it wasn't fun, and I needed surgery in the off season. You know, in the summertime when I had no contract and you know, no guaranteed future where I'm going to continue and how. And you know, I was 30 or 31 years old, so you're not the youngest anymore. And those moments are tough because you still want to play. You know, you have still a lot to give, and moments like this, they definitely teach you a lot about respecting what you have, when you have to step back for a month or two or whatever. And in my case, I did that. I reflected. I worked really hard to get back, and I did. I came back, played well a couple of seasons, climbed the ladder again, and ended up playing for FC Barcelona, which is considered one of the top teams in Europe. So it was just another of those moments where I had to grind, and I did it. So it's definitely something I can be proud about.
Right. So you're 34 now. What is this? You have another 4 years, 5 years?
I don't know. I mean, as long as I can play at the highest level, which I consider the Spanish league, the Euro League, when I can play at this level, I want to play. If it's going to be 4 years, great, But on my mind, I think 2 to 3 years is realistic.
Okay.
I don't want to be playing with injuries or with pain. I don't want to be one of those guys who plays until they can walk, and then after they're done playing, which happens in basketball a lot. The tall guys,
yeah.
you see them walking around with knee injuries or knee replacements or having back problems, and I don't want to be one of those guys. When I'm done playing basketball, I want to be healthy enough and have enough energy to do something else.
Right.
Not getting paid for it, but still enjoy it a lot.
I'll be able to move. So when I was in Chicago and I used to watch the Bulls, Dennis Rodman had just come in, so it's been like 95. Mm-hmm. And man, he was at the end of his career, right? But he would always have 2 big ass bags of ice on his knees, like during the game, before the game, after the game, and you could just tell he was on his last couple of years. And I don't know if he has problems now, but you could tell he's gonna have.
Ice is important. I like to ice down.
Okay.
After practices, after games.
How's the new breed of athlete coming up? How's the 24-year-old that you see, in Barcelona, other places? Are they a different level? Are they taking care of their bodies in a different way? Do they look different than you did, say, 10 years ago?
I think basketball in general is getting more and more physical.
Okay.
So if you look at basketball 10 years ago, or if you go 20 years ago,
right.
And if you watch a tape, it'll be so different.
Look at the skinny-ass Larry Bird and all those guys, right?
Yeah. It's more physical, it's faster, it's quicker, it's stronger.
Is LeBron, is the LeBron
He's a new type of player that you see now. He's a hybrid. He's a guy that can play multiple positions. He's strong enough. He's athletic enough. Right. And I think you're gonna see more and more guys like him. Yeah.
Okay, and that's going one way. It's not going the other way.
I think it is. I think it's going that way because just the way the basketball is and the way the rules are, you have to be physical, you have to be strong, fast to be able to compete at the highest level. So all the young players want to follow that trend. I see it in the young players. It's going that way. Even when I was younger, if I compare myself, when I was 15, 17, we didn't play as physical as those young guys play now, for sure.
So they're all lifting weights now? They're all kind of bigger, doing more sprinting cardio? More.
I think I spent too much. When I was 17, 18, 20, I spent so much time in fitness for bullshit.
Really?
Yeah, just had no idea what's the right thing to do, and a lot of coaches didn't at that time because the basketball was still in a way that it was evolving, especially the conditioning and the strength and conditioning part of it.
Right.
So we did just leg curls and biceps curls and all that. That I think is for most of it is completely unnecessary. What I think is good for basketball is basketball controlled or basketball converted CrossFit.
Okay.
Because
for example, what?
For example, box jumps, short sprints, medicine ball work things, that you can do. Okay. A lot of those things that you copy basketball moves.
Okay.
I think that's the best way. If I was a young player, that's what I would want to do because I think it has the best results. Obviously, you have to gain weight, you have to gain muscle. There's ways to do that, but that will be the practice that I would want to do because I think in the long run it will help me be healthier, more agile, faster, all that, and that's important.
And do the clubs embrace that, whether in Europe or in the States? I mean, do they have really smart cross trainers that really train the guys, or is everyone kind of
No, more and more. It's more and more going that direction. I think all the top teams do that. When I was in New Jersey, I was surprised because a big part of our practice was Pilates.
Okay.
And the first time I got there, I was like, "Why are we doing Pilates?"
And do you think it was silly?
I mean, once I started doing it and I saw the results on the court, I was like, "This is the way to go."
Because you were stretching out.
Yeah, stretching out and getting more flexible and getting stronger at the same time. Especially during the season when you play a lot of games and it's tough and you're tired. Pilates is a great way to relax your muscles, to relax your body, but at the same time get stronger and more flexible. So that was one of the things that I did a lot when I was with the New Jersey Nets.
Okay. LeBron James, what's your read on him, the recent move, the whole phenomenon? I'm not a big basketball fan, so I want to know what you think.
Well, he's definitely one of the best, if not the best player on the planet right now. That's not, I'm not even say nothing new,
right.
But that's the fact. I like that he's going back to Cleveland. He's from there. He's gonna he's going to try to win the championship there. I think if he does, it's going to be great for his career and for his legacy. So I think it's a good move. He went to Miami, won a championship or a couple of championships. Now it's time to do it his own way without help of Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and so on and so on. So, I was never a huge fan of LeBron James. I mean, I played against him. It's hard to be a fan of somebody you play against.
What was he like to play against?
He's just really, really, really physical. Okay. I remember him really physical. He wasn't a good shooter back then. He got better as a shooter from three-point range and all that. But right now, when he moved back to Cleveland, I'm really pulling for him to win there. I think it's a great move for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the NBA is such a huge phenomenon, right? I mean, basketball, it's such a huge money-making global sport, right? I mean, in America, is it right up there with NFL? I mean, it's these franchises are worth lots of money, as we've seen recently from the sale.
Yeah.
Is that just going to get bigger, in your opinion?
Yeah, basketball is getting more and more global. I think they've done that jump from being just a USA sport to being a global sport. I think they've done it already. They're just trying to get solidify their moves. They're big in Asia. They're big in Europe already, even though EuroLeague is trying to, I have a feeling they're trying to move them to the side a little bit and get their own space. So I think it's a little bit of a battle between EuroLeague and NBA.
Who gets to Asia first?
Who gets to Europe?
Okay.
Who is the major league in Europe? Because a lot of fans love NBA and they watch NBA instead of EuroLeague.
Right.
I think Asia is obviously all NBA. It's covered. The fans it's a huge fan base over there. Latin America, South America. Is big on NBA. So yeah, they're a global sport for sure. I would say more than NFL or baseball or any other American sport.
We were talking about MMA earlier, and you were talking about the athletes in MMA, and you said that you think that they are a super high level athlete, but it's natural to marginalize what you do, and I'm sure if I went through one of your practices, I'd be like, Jesus Christ, this is crazy what you guys do, or even the mental aspect of playing an NBA game or a Liga game. But what do you think when you see MMA athletes? What do you see that's different than, say, you or a footballer?
I would say their physical preparation, the ability to be at 100%, period. I think it also makes a huge difference because MMA fighter has 2-3 fights a year, so they structure everything for that one event. Right. I think if you did that in basketball, you would also see that, but we play 70, 80, 90 games a year, right. So it's a little bit different. But still, I think MMA fighter dedicates more into his health and more to his preparation than a basketball player does, no question.
Okay. I guess it's an individual sport too, which makes it different. Like you said, they're peaking. I heard recently that Luke Rockhold of AKA was saying that in order to train for a 5-round fight, he's like, it's like double the camp of a 3-round fight. Like little things that I didn't even know. And I've been a fan for 10 years, but I didn't realize you really have to train so much more.
I admire MMA guys. Because I know how much they put into it, and most of them don't get even paid a lot of money for what they do. It's purely out of love and of knowing who they are and what they can do, and if they can win inside the cage. I'm sure that has its own thrill, and it's something that we can't even imagine. Yeah. But yeah, I always say that basketball players, football players, we're athletes. I think those guys, the MMA guys, are warriors. I think that's the difference, yeah.
It's different because also there's the weight issue now, which means you have to be cutting weight, to fight at the top of your game. So not only are you doing all these other physical aspects, you now need to shave 10 pounds off your body.
I can't imagine that. I can't imagine. I have 104, 105 kilos, and if I had to be under 100 to play a game, and that would be 3 weeks from now, or I can't imagine stepping on the court being not my natural weight. No, they gain weight in the day that they have, but still, the day that they have between the weigh-ins and the fight, but still, it's something that it would be just too much. Especially I think for basketball players who are used to running up and down, and some of them are tall, really tall, and I think losing weight would be a disaster.
Right, not what they want to do. I had Mike Dolce in here, and he was one of his fighters. Nick Lentz was a guy he works with, and he'll talk to a fighter, and then he'll usually say, "Okay, you should be fighting 10 pounds lighter." And like when he trained BJ, and so Dolce's basically saying you're not what you think you are. You should be fighting 10 pounds below. Yeah. And it's just like Jesus.
Yeah. Look, this is not something I'll do ever. But I do like Mike Dolce. I follow him, and I'm following to what he's trying to do and suggest. And even when it comes to food, I follow some of his tips. So I definitely respect him as a nutritionist and as a coach. But yeah, I mean, basketball definitely needs more of that, for sure.
Yeah, talk to me about your diet. You said you changed things up in the last few years. I mean, how's the typical NBA diet, which probably means NFL and, whatever. How is your typical diet? Because these athletes are making millions of dollars a year. It's in their best interest to spend money for all this stuff. What's it typically like?
Well, I can't talk for every NBA player.
Right.
I can talk for myself. I didn't eat well when I was in the NBA.
Like, what were you eating?
I mean, I did try to eat salad and a steak that would be lean meat, like good stuff, but too many burgers, too much French fries, all the sweets, French toast and soaked in oil.
Texas barbecue.
All that stuff, and I didn't take care of my body as much as I used to. And I'm sure, I know I've seen it. Many NBA players, make the same mistake. They don't do that. I think the whole taking care of your body aspect is still not as evolved as you see it in the MMA. Yeah, so, NBA or professional basketball in general is just not there yet.
Interesting. And what are you doing different? Like you said, you're taking care of your body. Is it like a specific thing you're not eating, or are you trying to sleep more? What are you doing different?
Well, I have a bad sleeping habit. I go to sleep real late, so
really?
Let's take that out of the equation. Usually 1 o'clock in the morning. I'll 2 at night. I'll sleep.
Okay.
I'm not one of those early birds who go to sleep at 10 o'clock.
Okay. And you're not napping these days, so that's.
I'm not.
Usually,
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
But I still try to sleep. I would say 8 hours.
That's good.
8 hours. Say 7 hours. 8 hours is what I try to sleep. Okay. That's always my focus. So if I gotta get up at 9, I make sure I'm on bed at 1:30.
So you're really going to bed at 3, is what you're.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Okay, that's cool.
A lot of times. But yeah, as far as food goes, I eat a lot more vegetables, a lot more fruits. I'll mix it up in the morning. My wife is really strict on that because she's the one that started changing her diet, and she's a vegetarian, which I'm not. But I follow a lot of her tips when it comes to eating fresh, eating straight from the garden, eating straight from the local market, and so on and so on. So everywhere we live, we try to do that.
There's a line from Pulp Fiction where it's not Marcellus Wallace, but it's Samuel Jackson's character, and he says, "My girlfriend's a vegetarian," which basically means I'm a vegetarian.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So yeah, a lot of dishes, a lot of whether it's lunch, dinner, whatever, I'll eat vegetarian. And I don't necessarily agree with all the vegetarian things. I think meat is still important to eat, but not every meat.
Right.
I'm really selective with the kind of meat I eat. Mostly will be just a chicken breast that I'll make it real simple. I'm not gonna add sauces. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna fry it, and so on and so on. And since I've been doing that, I feel much better. So my day is simply not gonna start without me blending a big shake of
kale
fruit.
shakes and stuff.
Also, I've tried that, but mostly, different vegetables, different fruit, whatever I have at home, fresh. I'll put that together, and that's how I'll start my day.
Gluten? You playing with gluten, or?
I try to avoid it as much as I can, even though I haven't put it out of my diet completely, simply because I don't pay enough attention to it. I should. I read about it. I'm sure it would help me even more to be without it, but. I do eat much less bread than I did, for example.
Nice.
Much less. I used to eat a lot of bread, and I cut it down to complete minimum.
That's good. Yeah, I know. Rogan's been talking lately about how talking about how gluten can just inflame your body naturally. Mm-hmm. When I went on the ayahuasca diet about 2 years ago, or 2.5 before I did ayahuasca, gluten had to come off the diet, and so I stopped doing it, and then I didn't bring it back. So I've been pretty much gluten-free since then.
Good.
Also, once you drink the ayahuasca, you find yourself avoiding certain foods. So you come off obviously caffeine and alcohol and sugar and gluten and any kind of pork products and red meat. And then you find after you drink it, you don't really want to go back on it, which is really weird. So I find that avoiding sugar and gluten, the two white things, you pretty much will avoid 95% of what is sold on the high street, as they say in the UK.
Yeah.
So by avoiding those things, you avoid all the sandwich shops, all the pasta shops, all the sugar that's in everything. And then I find that you're already way ahead of the game. And then you just start eating the other stuff, which usually means, like you said, lean protein or good healthy vegetables, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
I think avoiding of sugar is something that I've tried to do, and I'm still going to consciously do it because I love sweets. I love desserts, cakes, ice cream, whatever. Right. So I definitely have those cheat days when it comes. I've been eating healthy for 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 days, and then at 11, 12 day, whenever it is, I'll go full out and I eat a lot. Either it's desserts or a burger or something. So it's not like I never eat it again, but. I'll do that, and then I'll try to stay away from it for a while. Just because I did it, I tried it, and it makes me feel better. It's simple. If it didn't, I wouldn't do it. I'm not one of those crazy types who thinks this is the way to go and this is how I should do it, and because this guy and this guy says that. No, I've seen it for myself. I tried it, it works, and that's it.
Right. And you're feeling better, much better.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do.
And what do you think you would have, if you've been doing that 10 years ago, do you think your play would have been better?
Yeah, I think I would just perform better on the court as far as just physical ability goes. I wouldn't be as tired.
Right.
Maybe I would avoid a couple of injuries here and there. I would be able to be in better shape throughout the season. Because, it happened that I would have a game. After a game, I'll be really exhausted. I'll go in and I eat junk food,
Right.
It would give me a quick satisfaction. I'll feel great when I eat it. But the next day, I would be like,
Right.
So tired.
Yeah, you said you used to walk around tired, and then you go to practice. Then you would feel better, but you would feel kind of tired.
Yeah. As soon as the practice, once I warmed up, I would be fine. I'll be okay. But as soon as the practice is over, I would be so tired, and it doesn't happen as much anymore because I have the energy. And if I do feel tired, I'll go, take some fruit right away, get a freshly squeezed orange juice or something just to get vitamins in my body, and it definitely helps.
And I forgot with what you do, it's so cumulative. I mean, you got practice and then game and then practice. So you can really get worn down. Probably like a long training camp for an MMA fight.
Yeah.
Or a fight that gets postponed and they're going to be like, oh, Jesus, another 8 weeks. And, it's just a grind.
Yeah. Plus, you got to, like we talked about, you got to add up the mental game of it.
Right.
Tough game. You lose a tough game. A lot of people had expectations. You win it. But you don't. And then 2 days from now, you have another game. It's an important game. So you have a quick time to recover. You have to. Unlike MMA fighters who maybe lose a fight and then they have 6 months to recover and get ready again. Here you got to go boom, 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 next game.
Right.
So that's the big difference.
How mental is the game of basketball when you're going against top level competition? Is there trash talking? Is there intimidation going on the court? How does that work?
It is. I think the more important the games are, the more that is happening.
Okay.
I think still there's more of it in the NBA. The NBA game is more vocal on the court.
Because that's an American thing, or because
it is. But I think it's slowly coming over here. You have guys talking trash and talking all kinds of stuff. But
what language do you talk trash when you're in Barcelona and you're playing someone from Italy? I'm like,
I think English is the universal language of trash talking. So,
okay.
So we all use English. So you make sure the other guys are understanding what you're trying to say.
Okay. What's typical trash talk? Can the referee call you for trash talking, or can you say whatever you want?
Well, yeah. I mean, the referee can give you both you and the opponent. If you guys are getting too much into it, he can give you a technical foul, which basically means, you get a couple of those, you get thrown out of the game. Okay. So yeah, they try to control it. Yeah, you definitely can't say nothing to referee, especially not some bad words, just some cursing or whatever.
Okay.
You got to be very respectful to what they do and how they're trying to keep the game clean. I'm not the best at that. I talk to the referees a lot, and
oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I got penalized a lot throughout my career for it. But
does it help though? I mean, if you have a precedent that the referees know that you're gonna not take any bullshit comments, do you get better calls?
Not from my experience.
Come on.
Okay. I mean, look, the superstars, I'm sure they can have a little bit of influence on that, because not just because of what they talk to referees, but because they make sure that the whole stadium sees that they're talking to him. So it puts a little bit of pressure on the referee.
Okay.
To open his eyes more and to see what's going on in the court. I don't think they make huge differences, inside the game, but it definitely opens their eyes. But yeah, it's I think. For me, I think I have better games when I don't talk to the referees personally, but it's not something that I'm good at. When it doesn't go my way, I like to talk to referees a little bit too much, and that's something that even though I'm 34, I'm still trying to avoid as much as I can. Okay.
Do you have better performances when you're emotional?
I do.
You do?
I do.
Okay,
I do. When I get into it and I really feel the fire and it's borderline, fighting with the opponent, or when you feel that's the way of life and death, to say you're ready to do everything you have to win the game. Once I get to that point, I play better.
Because it's competitive. Yeah. It's about winning that game at that time against that guy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly. And I haven't really discovered the way how to get to that point. I think the game itself gets me to that point. But I have proved that the more important the game is and the more it is on the line, usually, obviously, the more I get into it, the better I play.
Can guys get in your head? Have you had times where someone's either intimidated you or gamed you emotionally, where you were afterwards, you're like, I'm not going to let that happen?
It hasn't happened much, but it has happened.
Okay.
Where I would let the guy get into my head and I wouldn't necessarily lose the game, but I didn't play as well as I could. But I think that was when I was younger. That doesn't phase me anymore.
Do they dig at you the whole time and you're missing free throws and they're messing
some of
with
them
you?
They keep talking to you and they keep talking to you and they try to get under your skin. But the older I get, the more I just don't worry about it. I just laugh at it and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Okay. And do you use those tactics on other players?
Not much. I was never one of those players. I was never the instigator.
Okay.
I was never the instigator.
That's probably what they all say.
No. No, but really, I never was. I try to be very respectful on the court to the opponents. I don't, even though if it's a young player, a player that realistically is not up to the level that all the other guys on the court are. The guy that's just coming up. I'm not disrespectful to the guy, simply because I've seen the other part. Like I told you the Grand Hill thing before, when I stepped on the court for the first time, and the guy told me, "Welcome to the NBA." I mean, I try to. That's the type of player I want to be.
Okay, to the new guys or to everyone. Okay.
To the new guys, but still, when it comes to the game itself, I'm going to try to kick the guy's ass.
Right, and you've always been competitive.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the good MMA fighters say they don't fight emotionally because when they start getting emotional, that's when you see guys lose. Mm-hmm. But let's be honest, they're very competitive. Mm-hmm. The reason Johnny Hendricks pulls out the win in the 5th round is because he's been doing that all his life and he's highly competitive. That doesn't mean he might not be emotional, but he's competitive, right? And that sounds like you.
Yeah, but you also have players who can stay calm and they don't even show a facial expression. They have a great game and decide the game in the last second, and doesn't change and doesn't faze them.
Right.
I'm not one of them. I show emotion. I'll be devastated after a loss. I'll be incredibly happy. We won the Spanish league, and it was a huge victory for our club. And I cried after the game.
That's cool.
Crying like a baby, just because. First of all, how much it means to the club and to the people for winning it. But second thing is you realize how much you put into it. So once you win it and once you get it, I don't see a problem in letting your emotions out.
Okay, what's Barcelona like? I'm supposed to actually be there next week. I love that city. I call it. What do I call it? It's like the Paris that's actually fun and relaxed. It's got all the class and all the history and all the beauty of Paris. But the Spanish, they don't take themselves so seriously, and that's why I love it. And it's got the beach and it's got the downtown. What's it been like for you?
I live there for a year now, and I'm going to live there, for one more season. I'm going to play there next year. Okay. So I had a chance to see the city and live in the city and to experience it. And I got to say, it's my favorite European city. It's first of all, it's beautiful. It's clean. It's easy to get from place to place. But like you said, it's got the center. It's got the beach. You drive a little bit out of the city. You're up in the hills to overview the whole city. A lot of things to do. People are nice, but there's one important thing. They like to call themselves Spanish. They're Catalonia.
Right. Okay,
so that's the big thing that I had to be aware of once I got there. But other than that, look, it's all that what I said. But most importantly, it's a great sports town. Obviously, FC Barcelona is one of the biggest sports global names in the world. Club brands, and to play a sport in Barcelona, I think is every athlete's dream.
What's it like to be like a gypsy, man? You change cities every 2 years or something. What's that like to come to a new city? You got to make friends with the people in the club, but it's just always new.
Yeah, I always thought when I was younger, I was like, I hope I'm gonna be a player who's gonna play his whole career in one club, or one team in the NBA. Okay. I always wanted to be that, to get that.
Does that happen?
It does, here and there. Or majority of your career, let's say 8 or 10 years, it does happen. But now that I'm older and look back at it, I'm so happy that I had a chance to move around because I lived in cities like I said, Houston, New Orleans, New York, Moscow, Istanbul, Barcelona. Who knows where I'll play next? And those are some of the nicest cities I've been in. Met some incredible people that I wouldn't if I just stayed in one place. And I was really, really lucky to have a chance to travel around and to experience all that.
Talk to me about charity work. I saw you in Africa. You were in Chad. You were taking some pictures and talking about their water supply, which is something that we take for granted in the West. Do you go out of your way to do charity work? Is this something you've been doing for a while? What happens?
I've done it. I've done a couple of, many different things throughout my career. I always wanted to be involved in charity and help the people who are not as fortunate as I am. I think that's very important to do. Even though some people see it as they don't understand it. They're like, why are you doing this? Why don't you spend time on the beach in the summer and have fun? It's just something that I get dragged into. It just pulls me in.
Okay.
To help other people. I don't know why. I have that. I don't know. Maybe it's my parents. maybe it's the people I'm around, my family, my wife, that we talk about it, and that's how we want to live. But yeah, I was in Africa last week, and it was a life-changing experience for sure. I mean, things I've seen there and things I've experienced, the horrifying things I've seen, it changes you.
Why Chad? I mean, no one. I bet people couldn't even pull Chad out on the map. Mm-hmm. It's Saharan, right?
It's like in the middle of the Africa. It's right in the middle of the African continent. It's right. Sahara on the north and sub-Saharan area in the south of the country.
Okay.
It's fighting. It has a lot of. And it's fighting against water supply, or what I'm trying to say, they don't have water. So
right.
The big problem in the country is the water supply, because of the drought, because of the areas where maybe 30, 40 years ago, there was a land that you could grow crops and grow vegetables. Now it's gone.
Okay.
And you see thousands and thousands of malnourished kids or babies who are dying because of not getting enough water, enough food, besides the malaria, besides the other problems they have. And it's been an unbelievable experience to see that. And my mission was, I was there on a UNICEF mission, was to inform the world, to inform Slovenia and other countries about the situation there, because I even didn't have no idea about it. I knew that Chad is in Africa and they have some problems, but not to extend that what I've seen there. I mean, people just sitting around in the corners of the streets, just not being able to find water and food and basically dying. It's something that it's tough to experience, but it's necessary to do it and to tell the world, and hopefully things will change. They're moving in the right direction. I've seen changes on the spot, but it's coming slow and it's coming late, and people are dying because of it.
What do they need? Do most of these places just need some basic like water pump technology?
Yes.
Do they need clean water? Is that the issue more than anything?
What UNICEF is doing is they're putting in water pipes, water pumps,
right.
that you pump water out of the ground, but as the water comes up, it's already going through filters.
Okay. So
it comes out pure drinking water.
Right.
I've seen those pumps. There are many there already, but there's so many still missing. The villages without it, they got to walk, 3, 4, 5, 10 kilometers to get to the closer water source, which is in the ground, and the water they pull out is brown, is dirty, right. and they drink that because they don't have anything else. So the mission is to put there as many water pipes or water pumps as possible, but they dig up to 60, 65 meters deep to get water, and the locals there are just don't have the technology. They don't know how to do it. So I think the Western world has to help. That's all they need. That's all they want. They're going to get back on their feet if they get water. That's what I believe.
And it only comes down to a few 100 pounds or something, but it's about getting that technology so it goes deep enough so it gets natural filtration. Mm-hmm. Then they get clean water, and then they can start doing normal things, right? Like planting crops.
Yeah, because you got to think about it. Like even the water source is 5 kilometers away.
That's most of their day, right?
Yeah, and they have kids doing that. I mean, the 9, 10-year-old kids, their job is basically get up in the morning, go to get water, and bring it back for the family. But maybe it sounds easy, walk 2-3 kilometers to get water, but think about it. You're walking in a 45 Celsius heat on the sun one way, and going 3 kilometers, come back with 2 buckets full of water. I mean, do that daily. It's exhausting.
Water, and it's water that probably makes you sick.
Exactly.
As well.
I mean, it's 2014. We shouldn't be talking about this anymore. There's problems all over the world, and Chad is not the only one. But getting people having water, I think that's a thing we shouldn't be talking about anymore.
Right. And you're a celeb. I mean, you have celeb status. When you go do these things, people see, right?
Well, in Slovenia, the athletes are really well respected. I'm really happy that UNICEF turned to me and asked me to help. I was glad to help. I've been one of the faces of the campaign in Slovenia this summer and this fall, and I think we did a good job because a lot of people have told me, and I've seen people talking about it, that they had no idea how bad it is over there. So I'm happy we did that. I'm happy we opened people's eyes, and that was our mission.
Talk to me about podcasting. Talk to me about Joe Rogan. Talk to me about your own podcast, London Real. When did you start listening to podcasts, and how's it kind of changed your life?
First time was maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I was listening. I was trying to find a good MMA podcast or something to listen about, when I'm in the car, because I was living in Istanbul and you spend a lot of times in the car because it's a huge city. It takes time to go from place to place.
Okay. And you've been an MMA fan for a while?
Yeah. I've been in MMA. The first time I've seen MMA was in 2000. I was in Japan. So I've seen the Pride fights.
Oh, you have?
Sakuraba and those guys and Vanderlei fighting on TV.
Okay.
We had a world championship there, basketball world championship.
And you saw Pride.
And I saw Pride on TV, and I was like, I can't believe that I had no idea this was even a sport or this was happening. So I started with Pride.
In 2000. Wow.
Yeah, 2000 was when I saw the first MMA fights.
I went twice to Japan.
Yeah, I was there twice also. Yeah.
Incredible. Okay.
Yeah. So that's where I saw first, and then UFC followed, and with the whole boom with the Ultimate Fighter, and I'm not sure which year was it, but the first season.
Yeah, it was late, wasn't it? It's probably 07, 08?
Oh, maybe 05 or 05. I think 05 or 05 or 06. But yeah, that's I was following it up to then. I was watching it on pay-per-view in the States and inviting my friends over. Everybody was like, "What are you watching? What is this?" And
Right.
I already knew about it. And after that, it just became so big. And of course, I follow it still today. But anyways, that's what I was trying to find, a good radio show that would talk about MMA. So I was searching for it, and I saw Joe Rogan has his own podcast.
Okay.
So I thought he was just talking about MMA. I thought that's what it was because I knew Joe Rogan from being a commentator for the UFC.
Right. And you found him on YouTube or Vimeo?
On iTunes. On iTunes.
Okay.
On iTunes. Okay. So I downloaded it, and I'm not sure which episode was it, but I heard that he was talking about something completely different.
Right.
Some interesting guest about universe or about,
he's probably talking a lot about weed back then.
Whatever it was,
Yeah.
And that's how I started, and I liked it, and I listened to Joe Rogan for a couple of years, only to his podcast. Then I started adding others, and when you were a guest on his podcast, that's how I caught up with your podcast, and that's how it all expanded.
Yeah, it really changed things. I mean, we're coming up on 3 years for London Real in October, but I mean, I think it was a year before that I started watching Joe's show on Vimeo because they would upload it, and it was back when he did it at his house, and it was like the split screen.
Yeah.
And like we used to have split screen here. I mean, that was all straight from Rogan's, from Rogan's lead. And I just remember having listening to these 3-hour conversations, and maybe because he was talking about things no one else would talk about, whether it was weed or not. It wasn't the fact that he was talking about weed as in it was counterculture. It was just someone saying something different and being proud of saying it and being proud to have opinion that's different. I think that's what more than
I agree 100%, and it started opening my eyes, and I started thinking differently because of Joe, and thinking outside of the box, basically, and the way he has the courage to say all these things, even though he's a public figure, and the guests he has on and all that. I learned so much from his podcast, so much. I mean, things I didn't know, whether it was about history, business, universe, MMA, whatever it was. I mean, I learned so much from it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think they call it a meme, when humans see something that the other humans do and we copy it. And, Terence McKenna said memes are like genes, they're actually, people see something and then they move on and they mutate and they go in weird ways. I think what Joe brought to the table was being completely they call it being congruent. So just owning up to everything about yourself and being honest and open about it. And I think everyone else kind of ran with that in a way that we didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
So everyone's just whatever, we came out and did our ayahuasca thing, or you just be you, and then everyone else kind of goes from there.
But it seems it's interesting to me how many people were craving for that.
Yeah, I know.
Because all we knew, all I knew up to that point was traditional media,
censored media.
That's it. Whether it was sports, it was ESPN or CNN or
radio,
or Slovenian TV stations, radio stations. That's all I knew. And I thought that's all I news I need. That's all the stuff I need to know. Once you discover podcasts, Joe Rogan's, yours, and many others, and when you listen to those conversations, when people have actually time, they're given time to talk about the issue, to talk about the stuff they know, to talk about their experiences, you get the stuff you get out of it is impossible to compare to a regular TV, radio show or a news show, whatever.
Yeah, it's like apples and oranges. It's like Dolce Diet versus sugared cereals. And we've had Tim Ferriss on before, and he says you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and I think that's true. But I also add podcasts in there as well. So if you spend a lot of time listening to people talk about cool shit and having good open opinions, I think it enriches you as a person. And you start.
For sure. And I spend hours daily listening to this, so I'm definitely, it has spawned off, and it's a part of me now. And it's how I think. Right. I know that. I mean, it's just even my friends and my family knows already that I see things differently. I think about things differently because of those podcasts. It's obvious. I'm a different person than I was 5 years ago because of that. I'm not saying I'm better. I'm saying I'm different, and I believe it's going in the right direction. Because I just opened my eyes and ears more than that I've done in the past.
Yeah, I think my brother came and visited me from Switzerland, and he was having coffee in the morning with his wife, who's Swiss, and it's a conservative country, and I was like, they're having coffee, and I'm like, yeah, that you're having a conscious altering drug, caffeine. They're like, this is not a drug. I'm like, well, it just that's when you first start noticing.
For sure.
It,
and another thing is when I listen to Joe Rogan, talk about weed. I never done weed. I mean, I passed every drug test I had, and I had many throughout my career.
Right.
But it's interesting because I agree on him on the stance of what marijuana should be and shouldn't be.
Right.
Right. I mean, you see alcohol being sold everywhere. You see cigarettes being sold everywhere, advertising everywhere. People dying because of both these things. When it comes to marijuana, which is a medicine, basically, it's such a strict, you're not allowed to talk about it. It's stop here, no more. It's unbelievable. And even though I'm not allowed to do it, and I never done it, it's something that I agree about. And I even talked to my friends about it, and they're just like, "You're an athlete. You're not supposed to say that." And I'm like, "Look, this is what I believe. And it doesn't mean I do it, but this is what I believe."
Right, because it's illogical. It's just logic. It's like, well, just you run the numbers, and you're like, this doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
Talk to me about your podcast, and when are you going to start doing it in English? 'Cause you do it in Slovenian, right?
Soon. Hopefully, we're going to do it in English. We have plans to do it in English, and we have some people lined up. And I'm going to ask you too, if you don't mind. You should be a guest on our podcast.
I don't do many podcasts.
It doesn't mean you have to fly to Slovenia, because we do most of our stuff over Skype and audio only. But we have plans to do it in English. We've done over 20 episodes now in Slovenian. It caught up quickly. People love it. They understand. They're starting to understand the logic behind it. We're trying to offer different things than traditional media, stuff we talked about a couple minutes ago.
What's your podcast called, and what's it about?
It's called Podrobnosti, which means details.
Okay.
So basically, we talk about different details. Yes,
okay.
Podrobnosti. It means details.
I like it.
In English.
Okay.
And basically, we had, from basketball players to, we had one of the best boxers, European boxers who is Slovenian. We had journalists. We had movie director on it. So a lot of people from different ways. We had an astronomer on it, Slovenian guy.
Cool.
So a lot of different people from different areas. And that's something that people who listen to it, they love it. They're like, we don't know what's coming next, and whatever it is, it's an open conversation, and we learn something new. And that's what we want to do, because we just want to talk, freely, talk relaxed, and even though we learn it, me and my friend who do it together, we learn a lot from it. But our listeners learn a lot from it too, and that's the whole goal. I don't have any personal goals with it, but I just want to spread it throughout as many people as possible, so they can enjoy it and they can see what podcasting is. And the funny thing is that since we started doing it, and my friend has a network of podcasts, more and more podcasts are joining this network. So in Slovenia, we have about 15, 20 podcasts now. 2 years ago, maybe it was 1 or 0.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to, I've said it so many times. I said it on the Joe Rogan show, and that people should just try to start their own podcast. And we had a bunch of reels that sprung out, and they're everywhere. And sometimes they come and go, but it's awesome. But what from doing it is just by doing a podcast, all these wonderful things happen to you.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, you just push yourself to meet new people, and then you put content out, and then everyone likes what you're doing, and then you inspire someone else, and
it's just like I said. Yeah, it's just it's like a domino effect,
Yeah.
I mean, one domino falls and it just goes. And I said, me and my friend, he said, let's start it. Let's see how it goes. A couple episodes. But once we did 2 or 3, I knew it was going to be waiting for a long run.
You had to keep going, right?
Because we enjoy doing it. It's something that, for me as a professional athlete, is something that it's a hobby of mine, and it relaxes me.
Right.
It gives me a chance to have an outlet to completely stop thinking about basketball for an hour or two and focusing on something else. And it helps me because once it's over, once it's done, I have when I switch back to basketball, I just feel more energy for basketball, because I've done something else for a little bit. Now I can get back into it. So it helps me from a personal level also.
Isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it adds.
Yeah.
Are you the most famous Slovenian in the world?
No, I'm not.
You sure?
I'm not. But like I said, the athletes are popular. Slovenia is a small country, but we have athletes in every sport, at the highest world level. I mean, we have basketball players, we have good football players, hockey players. One of our hockey players was a 2-time champion with the LA Kings. Okay. We have skiers, we have cyclists. I mean, swimmers. I mean, everywhere you look, we have athletes. It's almost like a weird situation to be a small country but be so successful in sports. I think it's one of a kind for sure.
Because it's 2 million people.
2 million people.
Jesus,
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. But it's a sports country. So I'm not a super celebrity because Slovenia is a small country. So we don't even have super celebrities because it's almost it has a feel of everybody knowing everybody on a personal level because it's so small. You meet everybody sooner or later. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, like I said, athletes are popular, and I'm happy to have a chance to represent Slovenia in different ways.
And for you, what's next? Is it every year where you know whether you're going to stay at Barcelona? How does that work? And then work?
Right now, I'm focused only on playing next season in Barcelona. Okay. We'll see what happens next. Hopefully I'll still healthy and I'll feel good so I can continue my career for another year or two after that. But I don't have a long-term goal. I'm still not sure where I'm going to settle down with my family after I'm done playing. Like I said, I've seen so many nice cities, so it's going to be hard to decide. But who knows? Maybe it's going to be London. Because it's a place I never lived in. But yeah, from what I've seen, it's a beautiful city.
You like it, right?
I do.
What do you like about London? What are you feeling while you're here?
Well, it's hard to say because I've only been here for a day, but I've already seen the center, obviously the Piccadilly Circus and Oxford Street and all that. So it's nice to walk around there, but the parks are unbelievable.
Just nice.
Yeah, I went
clean.
Yeah, clean and so. In the middle of the city and organized, and I rented a bike today. Rode about for 2 hours or something like that, and to see a couple of those parks, it was just so nice because you're in the city, but you're not, and I really like that, because I never liked living in the center of the city. I always like to live a little bit outside, when you have more parks and more nature and all that. So. I've seen the Science Museum. I was at Science Museum yesterday. It was amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the Greenwich Observatory tomorrow.
Yeah, that's cool.
See that. So I'm going to try to see as much as possible because I'm only here for 3 or 4 days.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you meditate or do any practices like that?
No, my wife does every day for hours. She does it, and she tells me so many good things about it. Yeah, she does it in the morning and usually one session during the day. And I just don't have. I was never good at yoga and meditation because I don't have the patience to sit still. Okay. I know it sounds weird, but I don't.
Weird. But for such an enlightened guy.
Yeah,
like
but
yourself.
I don't. And people tell me that I should do it. I should try it. I think meditation is something you have to be ready for. I'm just not ready for it yet. Maybe someday, but I'm not ready for it right now.
I think you're right. I think it's like ayahuasca. I think it's something that you find when you're ready. And I've done both ways of meditation. I started off and then I went away from it, and now I'm back to it. And but I think it really helps for me. Like I do it. What I do now is I wake up in the morning, I brush my teeth, and I go right back into bed. And I sit up in bed and bust out like 20, 25 minutes.
Nice.
And I find that when I do that meditation, sometimes it has to take like a week or two to get into the flow. But once I do that, I feel like I can control myself. And without that, I don't feel like I'm always totally in control.
Wow.
Right. So I think I read a book one time and they said it was like a rider on an elephant. That's like you and your body and your mind. And that like ultimately, if the elephant wants to go rip down that fucking tree, it will. But as the rider, you can kind of be like, let's go over here. And so I think with meditation, sometimes it just helps you kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I know all about this, and I know a lot about the good stuff that it brings. It's something that I could get into it in the future, because I've seen other people do it, and I've seen it helps them, and I don't see why not. And also ayahuasca is something that I'll try to do after when I have more time. I listen to your experience, and I listen to many other experiences, and. I know it's something that not a lot of people know about it, especially not the people that are, my friends and family and stuff. And but it's something that I want to try. I think it's already calling. I have that feeling that I need to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're already hearing the word, then I guess that's saying something to you. You'd be amazed how many guests that I've had in here that ask me about it. Sometimes on the show, sometimes after the show. The last people you would expect.
Did you ever hear anybody saying that they had a bad experience for it, and that it changed them in a bad way, that they came back not the way they wanted to be?
I've read some things online, and some people have sent me messages, but I've never met anyone like that. I remember when we went and first talked to our shaman, and before we were going to go in, and we met with her first, and like I was really hesitant, and I didn't want to do this, and I was a control freak, and all this kind of stuff, and so. I remember we asked her, I was like, well, I heard one time that a guy was like, demons were following him around for like a week. And she's like, oh, that rarely happens. And I was like, oh, Jesus. Yeah. But, I mean, the thing is, people talk about bad trips. Ayahuasca isn't like a traditional trip, but we had a guy in here talking about psilocybin mushrooms. His name is Simon Powell. He wrote a book called The Psilocybin Experience. Okay. And he said, there are no bad trips. You are just learning at a rate you are not accustomed to. And he had a really good point. And it's probably like if you ever had a bad breakup with a girl, you're probably learning at a rate you're not accustomed to. You're learning really fast that she doesn't want anything to do with you and it sucks. And then you find out later that you become a better person and you've built and stuff like that. So I've had really tough times on ayahuasca, and I know other people have, but usually it's helped me in the long run. And when I'm about to go into an ayahuasca session or any other psychedelic session, I am not looking forward to it. It's usually because I set myself a deadline and I have to go in and do it, but it's not like I'm like, yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be great. Because I know it's not going to be great. I know I'm going to be confronted with some things that I'm not going to be happy about. I'm going to be taken to some really uncomfortable places. And I just try to breathe through it and just realizes that's part of the journey. And that's part of the...
So how many times have you done it?
Ayahuasca, I'm at 3. We did a whole show on DMT, obviously. That was the one and only time I've actually done DMT. And then I've had about 4 psilocybin experiences of varying degrees.
But you never done ayahuasca in the jungle,
Never
right?
gone to the jungle. I've always had my UK
What do you, I mean, I'm sure you talk to some people who have done that. I mean, is there a big difference? Because I believe, from what I read and what I listened, that if it's done, it should be done the right way, to go to the jungle and experience it there. But at the same time, I don't know what the big difference is, you know?
I've heard both. I've heard people say that when you're in the jungle, it's different and you're on her turf. I've also heard other people say that once you drink it, you're in your own world and it doesn't matter where you are. Look, I think it's important to make a commitment. So that's what the diet's all about. And if you're going to make a journey to South America, then that's important. You're making a commitment. You're traveling for days to get there. I think it mentally prepares yourself. And then you're in the middle of this fucking jungle with the sounds and everything. I could see how it could really be a big deal. At the same point, I think if you have access to it in Europe and it's getting really big on the continent, that's okay too.
I had a interesting thought when I was in Chad, because we were in the middle of the desert for a week. So I could see the point of being in an environment that it's calm, or jungle has its own sound, like you said, environment. I could see the point of being in such a location. Even though the desert can be deadly and it's cruel, you could find incredible peace there. Because once it got dark and once it got quiet, it's completely different from what the darkness and the quietness, here in the city.
Right.
Completely different.
Yeah, and I could see that. I found that after my ayahuasca, when I was in the middle of London, it was just too much, man. I remember walking down Old Street and there was like a bus and I was like, Jesus, I mean, you really don't want to be around any of that stuff. So yeah, I could see that. I could see that being a big benefit. I could see you want to go out to the countryside and do it. Of course, I haven't done that. So I can see definitely the benefits of doing that. And I also, just while I'm on this, I definitely think that there's something different between the ayahuasca experience and the psilocybin experience, and even, of course, the DMT experience. And there's something about the ayahuasca that I think really teaches you like some core life lessons about the people, the loved ones in your life, that I don't think you can replicate with psilocybin.
Yeah, so, you had Graham Hancock here, right?
Yeah, we had Graham Hancock.
I read a couple of his books, and he's one of the guys that I listened to. I think he was a strong believer of doing ayahuasca in the jungle.
In the jungle, I think that's only, and he does it every year. And he's also done Iboga, and that's something I've talked about as well. I think that's an interesting one. I've heard all sorts of different things about that. He wrote a book and he talks about doing that. Which you can actually do legally here. It's funny enough. So,
well, that's something down the line for me. If I have the courage to do it,
right.
When I'm done playing, that for now, like I said, I have to be really careful with drug testing.
Is the drug testing very strict for basketball?
It is. We do it quite a lot during the season. I mean,
and they test for everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
performance enhancers and
all that, steroids, even weed and all that. So it's something that I'm proud of. I never failed the drug test, and I intend to keep it that way until I'm playing basketball.
Nice. As Ronda Rousey says, when you're a professional athlete, your body is your business, right?
Exactly.
Who's going to win the upcoming light heavyweight champ? John Jones was fighting Gustafsson. Yeah. Now he's gotten Cormier. What do you see happening?
Man, I do and I don't like John Jones. I like him because of his ability, talent, and the way he's fighting. I don't like everything else around it. I think he's too cocky. I think he's too full of himself. himself, but deservingly so.
Right.
You know, he's the best on the planet.
It's funny how like one of the greatest pound per pound martial artists is probably the worst martial artist.
Yeah.
Right? Because and he's had time now, and he really he isn't the Georges St. Pierre.
Yeah, exactly. And GSP was my favorite for the longest time just because of that. Besides the fact what he's done inside the octagon or the stuff he's done outside the octagon. So
and most of the champions are actually like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Anderson Silva was a little bit cocky.
Yeah.
But if you look down the lines, most of them are quite respectful. And,
yes. But I think John Jones is a little bit different. So I don't know. I mean, I thought Gustafsson would be able to surprise him if they fought again. I really thought that he would, even though the first fight it was close, and a lot of people thought that the second fight is going to be easier for John Jones. I wouldn't agree with that. But with Cormier, I'm not sure. I think the agility of John Jones is going to be too much for Cormier. He's just too long, too agile, too quick. So I see him winning. Not even a decision. I see him winning before the fight ends.
Yeah, me too. I mean, Cormier is tough.
He is.
And Cormier is a winner. Like, he knows how to win. Like, he just knows how to win. You can tell, and he's been wrestling all his life, and he just knows how to win. I don't think I've ever said that about another fighter. So it'll be interesting, and he could really surprise John, but my money's on John. Also, to defend John a little bit, I mean, when you're the champion, especially the light heavyweight champion, everyone's talking rubbish about you all the time. And so, like, I think in a bit, he has to build up this persona and do these stupid, Instagram video posts, stuff that looks really juvenile. I kind of understand why John's doing it. And they talk about Ali. Like, if we had watched Muhammad Ali, who I've got a picture of on my wall here, if we had watched him in the prime of his career, I bet we would have thought he was a real douche.
Yeah.
Because he was talking so much rubbish. In retrospect, you look back and you're like, oh, he's the greatest of all time. But he was he took it way too far.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what you need to be the champ.
Maybe. We've seen both, and he's definitely working for John Jones. So and don't get me wrong. Like I said, he's a great fighter, and I really hope he stays the best for the longest time, because he does deserve it. He is the best. The things he does in the octagon, you don't see from many other fighters. No. And you always see somebody coming up and doing some new things and new tricks. But I think he stands out. I think he's the best.
I think it's because he just flows so well, and he does that new stuff. And like that last fight with Teixeira, the way he like cracked his arm.
Unbelievable.
His arm. I mean,
unbelievable.
A move, and then I think a meme, like I was talking about earlier, somebody said in the gym, like they had people trying that same move on him afterwards. And we'll probably see more of that.
Yeah, just like the front kick, right?
Yeah.
From Anderson Silva, move. And then he fighter, Machida later with Couture and so on and so on. So I mean, it's crazy how quickly the fighting styles are evolving and all that. I as a fan, I find it very interesting, and it seems like every fight you watch, it can bring something new.
Yeah, and with John, I just think he's just kind of got that next level. Everyone else,
he's ahead of the game. It feels like
ahead of the game. He's like 21-0, except for that DQ.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he's like 21.
I think those rules are a little bit funny. They're a little bit, with the elbows and with not being able to knee the body when the guy has two legs and arm down on the. I mean, some guys are using that rule to stay out of trouble, and I think they definitely need some changes. And I think that Joe Rogan was also talking about the gloves that they need to change because so many eye pokes and all that. So.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of those eye pokes, and John Jones is one of the worst when it comes to the pokes because he's got that reach. And he just does that. Yeah, we need to see some changes, and that hands on the ground thing is tricky because I even think the rule is if you start to throw the knee when they were off and then they put them on. It's okay.
But I don't even see how you can decide in that split second.
I know.
Like when you're either in one or the other position.
I know. And some of the refs actually do a pretty good job of that. And even in slow motion, it was hard to see when they were doing it. So we're going to see some real changes, I hope. Boki, I asked people a few questions here at the end. I'm going to hit you with the same questions. You might know these are coming. But if you could make a phone call to the 20-year-old Boki and give that young man a bit of advice, where were you at that time?
I was 20-year-old. I was in Italy. I was just the youngest. I think I was the youngest foreign player in Italian league. Wow. So it was nice to be 20 years old, the youngest foreign player. It was a big thing back then.
And you're in Rome.
I was actually in Treviso. Treviso is right next to Venice. Okay. It used to be a huge basketball city. Okay. There's no more basketball club there now because it's all connected to sponsors, and they don't have the money to do it anymore. But it used to be one of the powerhouses of European basketball. Okay. So that's where I was as a 20-year-old.
So if you could give him, this is a great question, and if you could bring that guy up and give him a bit of advice, now knowing 14 years later where you're at, what would you tell him?
First thing I would say is eat healthier. I think that would be the first thing I learned, because through that it would help me a lot to become a better professional. I would have more discipline, and I would be able to perform on the court better. But there's it's a good question, but it's a tough question also.
Yeah.
Because I keep saying to myself, I wish I knew all the things back then than I do now, and I'm sure all the people say that. But one thing that I had back then when I was a 20-year-old it was to chase my dream already. So that's something that I don't have to say myself when I was a 20-year-old.
Right.
But yeah, eating healthy would be one thing, because I think it would learn me a lot. It would teach me a lot about myself, the discipline, and it would help me become a better player.
It's funny because if you look at yourself back then, I mean, what got you there was talent. And what gets a lot of those MMA fighters, at least in the early days, was talent. So it makes me wonder if guys like that, they're like almost like, I'm not going to eat well. I'm not going to do all these things by the book because I'm here because I'm great. It seems like the last thing you would want to do.
Exactly, because it happens so fast.
Right.
You're 20-year-old, you're playing in Italy, you're one of the best players in your class, in your age in Europe, and you don't think about it. It just happens so fast. I think if there would be another thing, I would just say be more cocky, be more self-confident, be more of a douche.
On the court or in general?
Yeah, I think I was too nice.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Interesting.
But who knows how that would turn out? So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, can that hurt you when it comes to clubs wanting you? I mean, does personality play, or is it really all about stats?
I think it does. People want. I mean, teams want players that are team players that understand the team chemistry, how to win. They don't want selfish, egoistic players. Even though it does happen that a lot of times the best players are. Egoistic. They are selfish. They don't want to. They're isolated. Like they have a wall around them. It happens. But I never was one of those guys, and I never would want to be.
Okay. Best advice you've ever received?
Best advice. I'm not sure from who. It was probably when I was younger. Maybe from my dad or from my parents or somebody that was close to me. But basically, always believe in yourself was something that I would always tell myself before the game. Even though I had ups and downs, but it was always, believe in yourself first. Otherwise, nobody else will. So that's something that I always kept close to myself and try to think about it before games and stuff like that.
Was your father a sportsman?
He played basketball, never professionally, but he still is a big basketball admirer. He plays, even though he's way over 50, he's playing basketball a couple times a week with his friends, and he's out of pure love.
Okay. Did he push you as a kid to play?
He not push me, but he definitely helped me a lot to become the best basketball player that I could be. He was my first coach when I was a kid, and helped me go to practices to different cities, drove me to different cities to attend practices, because we didn't have it in the town that I was from. So he helped me. I wouldn't say push me, but I would definitely say help me.
Okay. Last question to the 20-year-old listening out there. What advice do you give to them? What should they be thinking about? Around that age. When they got this whole life ahead of them. Especially in all the knowledge you've gleaned.
I know it sounds so used up when people say, follow your dream, but it's so much truth in that. If you have a goal to become, to become an architect or a scientist or a basketball player, whatever, go for it, follow it, because I can tell you from my experience, it's worth giving everything. It is. I think if I didn't succeed, I would still be happy that I gave my best, because if you don't do that, then you always regret it. I really believe that.
Do you know people that haven't tried and regret it, or?
Yeah, I mean, you see it. You see people who say, "Oh man, I wish I practiced so much as you did when I was younger." I wish I didn't go out, to clubs and hang out with my friends, and instead went home to get some sleep and be ready for practice the next day. I had friends like this who've done it. Maybe they didn't have the talent I did. Maybe they would never succeed, but they definitely regret it. And that would be the advice. Do 100%, follow it, because at the end, if you don't make it, you still have that feeling of giving all you could, and it counts.
So you don't regret it, basically. I mean, you don't want to be the one that regrets it. Basically.
Exactly.
You must get that a lot from people when you go back home, or from people from your home that see you and they're like, oh, I wish I could have done this. Or, I mean, you must be a magnet for people that want to tell you what they could have done. A
lot of times it happens, especially, I mean, not just at home, but, you travel around and you have, people hang on to you and they tell you their stories and how close they were to making it. But if I didn't just drink that much at that time and party, I could, or, but it all comes down to, pushing all that aside. There's so much temptation out there that wanna turn you away from your goal. whether it's sports or other stuff. I think it's very important to keep your mind on the goal. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm never saying I've done it perfectly, but I can definitely say that I've really tried my best to do it. And especially when I was down and when I didn't make it, didn't get the contract I wanted, didn't, had injuries and all that, to keep fighting, want to get back, want to be the best I could be. I think once you do it, the feeling is it's hard to describe. It's good.
Yeah, don't be a victim. That's what I always keep thinking about.
Yeah.
If you ever catch yourself telling your victim story, then just shut up. Like I can catch it from a million miles away. You hear it all the time. Like, and sometimes it sneaks up on you. You hear it on a news program. And this boy, when he was younger, or this, you hear about someone that all these dire circumstances don't happen. And everyone's got one of those stories, and no one wants to hear your story.
Yeah.
Because they all have those stories too. You have it. I have it. Everybody's successful. Michael Jordan has it. All these guys have the bad things that happened in their life, and then they went ahead and did it anyways. So everyone has a great sad story they could tell you.
Yeah.
They just choose not to tell you.
For sure.
So yeah, I would say don't tell yourself that story in your head.
Yeah, no, you have to. You shouldn't let that stuff pull you back and pull you down, and feeling sorry for yourself. I've never done it, even though I could, and I've shared my frustrations and my problems with the closest family. I'm like I said, I can be emotionally if I let it out. Otherwise, I'm pretty closed and quiet. But I never let those things pull me back and pull me down. I could always find in anything I did, I could find a reason. I could find a reason or found a motivation. If I didn't get a contract I wanted, I was like, I'm going to fight even more to get that. If I didn't win, I'm going to fight even more to win. When I was injured, I'm going to fight. I'm going to work my ass to get in the best possible shape I could be, to get back on track and be, on top of the NBA. The NBA league, or top of the European league, or whatever. And like I said, it's important to have those goals because they push you.
Right, and always keep looking forward. Keep looking forward, right?
Yep.
Don't be looking back.
Exactly.
Good advice. Do you have sponsors besides like Barcelona? Do you have your own like separate sponsors? Does that work like that in basketball?
Yeah, it does, but right now I don't have a sponsor. We get a lot of gear from the clubs. I used to have sponsors when I was in the NBA. Get gear and Nike, whatever it was. I had Adidas, a year or two ago. But I don't right now, simply because FC Barcelona takes care of the players, and when we get our stuff that we need. So no, but obviously the superstars, the better players, they have all kinds of endorsements and all kinds of sponsors, and getting extra stuff and free stuff doesn't hurt.
Right, never hurts. How do people follow you? I know you're pretty big on Twitter, and how do they get your podcast? When's it coming in English? All that good stuff.
I'm on Twitter at Boki Nachbar. Right. I tweet in English mostly, also in Slovenian. Also, I would say English a lot, but also in Slovenian.
You can translate these days, right? Google Translate.
Yeah. But usually I like to tweet in English when it's something that is not directly with my friends from Slovenia. Obviously, I talk to them in Slovenian, but other than that, I'll try to tweet in English. I think I have way more followers on Twitter from outside Slovenia than from Slovenia. I would think so.
Right.
I never did the analytics on it. I don't like myself so much to see who's following me and who doesn't, but that would just be my opinion.
Okay.
Here and there, I would get somebody complaining, tweet in English more, we don't know what you're saying. So I always apologize, and I try to try to satisfy both. But people in Slovenia do speak a lot of, especially young people speak English. So they understand.
And that's your preferred social media, or your Facebook?
Yeah. No, I'm not. I have a Facebook fan page, but I'm not. I don't do a lot with it. There's news there. People help me with that to update things about my career and then things I do, but mostly Twitter. Okay. That's my thing. And podcast, I'm sure I'll tweet about it a lot once we start doing it in English, hopefully soon. Okay. We have plans to do it, so yeah.
Okay. And you want me on, right? Yes,
that'll be awesome. One of the first guests, we could talk about podcasting itself, because it would also help people in Slovenia hearing a voice from outside Slovenia talk about podcasting.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. We had some guys in Vancouver recently do Vancouver Reel, and it's just been, with the guys that do it, I'm just so impressed. And they love it. Like, everyone's loving it. They're getting engaged with the community. They're really good. They're getting better cameras, better mics. And these guys did it Midwest Reel as well. They did their own, and those guys are killing it. They've had Bolelli on there 3 times.
Yeah, I'm talking to Daniele about being a guest. So hopefully when we start doing English, he already said he would love to do it. So he's one of the guys that is also a great guy, an amazing guy. And I just read his book, Create Your Religion.
Yeah, I saw you tweet out about that.
Yeah, it was nice.
Bolelli's great. I interviewed him at his house in LA when I was there about a year ago, and he's such a fantastic guy, such a nice dude. When it's crazy history as well, you know, he had a baby girl and his wife died, and he was raising her alone, and like, you know, he doesn't always talk about that, but he has quite.
But this is we can go back to it. The how funny the people you meet through podcasting, and those are the people that I admire, that I follow, that I look up to, you know, like Joe Rogan, yourself, Daniele Bolelli, who has his own podcast also, even Eddie Bravo, who's a funny dude, and I like him, and so on and so on. I mean, it just goes on. Like Graham Hancock, you know, I first time I heard about him was him being on Joe Rogan and your podcast. I mean, that's how I started following him and see how he's doing. And it's funny because in the last 5 years, I met so many people through podcasting, and those are the people that I follow now. I think the people that I was involved with before, online and so on, I'm not involved anymore. This is the people that I want to hang out with, you know, even though we're not, you know, seeing each other, you know, or spending time together, but still online. I mean, internet gives you the opportunity to do that anyways.
Isn't that crazy how your whole life just changed?
Yeah.
And like if it was 20 years earlier, your options would have been seeing a blockbuster movie or watching a TV show.
Exactly.
And now you can hang out with all these people.
Exactly.
And choose who you want to be.
And it also, it's like you said, you choose who you want, and this is the crowd you hang out with now, even though you're not in the same city, but this is the people that think the same way you do or very similar.
Yeah.
And it's easier to find yourself inside of those circles of people. So that's definitely something that I'll keep doing because it simply, you know, it helps me as a person.
Dude, I'm not surprised you're as cool as I hoped you would be, but you are. So I guess that proves that the podcast phenomenon,
podcasting, man,
it filters everybody out.
Yeah, for sure it does, because it's not for everybody. I mean,
right?
You know, it's. I'm not saying we're better. I'm definitely not saying that we're not better than other people, but we are people that get along well just because we think alike.
Right. And this whole new world of podcasting is like you promote everyone else. You're not fighting over space because there's like an infinite amount of space. So it's all good. Thanks so much for coming by. When I got the message from you like a couple of years ago, and I was like, who's this guy? The professional basketball player? What? It was like crazy, but I think you were one of the definitely first sports personalities that contacted us. And I was like, so you were always like on our list of guests. So I'm sorry it's taking so long, but it's so good you're here.
Thank you.
Come back again sometime.
It was great being here. You know, it's been amazing. Like I said, I've been following your podcast for a while, so it's really an honor to be here. So thanks so much for having me.
Cool, man. Thanks for listening. As we say, it's about the journey. All the best on yours, and thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Cool.
What we call reality is in fact nothing more than a culturally sanctioned and linguistically reinforced hallucination.
This week on London Real, we have Mixed Martial Arts Trainer of the Year, Mike Dolce.
Dolce Diet is a lifestyle-based approach to maximizing health, fitness, and longevity. It's returning to the basics. What has got our species to where we are today? If you don't know what it is, if you can't pronounce it, if it's some chemical term or name, get it out of there. There's no easy way, there's no easy path. I mean, life is about sacrifice and it's about reward. No pills, no powders, no potions.
Is it true you actually cut weight with them?
Absolutely.
Mike, that's crazy.
I'm not a fitness personality. I'm not a celebrity trainer. I'm not a TV dude. I'm not a spiky haired, look at my abs, you know, fake tan kind of guy. We're teaching people how to be healthier, how to be better, how to change their body dramatically, but how to live these long, healthy existences. I still see myself as a white belt in the game. There's so much more for me to learn and continue to do.
On Sunday, London Real presents Mike Dolce, Living Lean.
I believe that I have the information, the experience to help every person on this planet in some way, shape, or form to achieve their goal.